Hello guys, how are you? Welcome to our week number 11. We're almost done guys, almost there. So hope everything's going right, everything's going well on your side. And well, I know these final weeks are a little bit harder than the rest. So I send you my best energies for you to assume all these challenges and different things that you have. Not only in my subject, but most likely in many of the other ones, right? I would like to mention something really important starting, so please pay close attention. I need you guys to verify the status of your registration, okay? I have analyzed some of my lists, not only of formats but of the other subjects as well, and I have noticed that some of you are not registered. Okay, so please right now go to your platform, enter your user, and verify if you are registered with me and of course with the other teachers, right, in the other subjects. Verify that you are in my course, that you are in formas but in this group, etc. And I recommend you do the same with the other ones. Okay. Why is it? Because if you are not, well, you may be in some sort of serious trouble, right? No matter the grades that you have already, no matter the advance, the results in your interviews, tests, in the assignments, nothing of that is valid if you're not officially registered into the platform, okay? So if that is your case, I hope not. Well, you're still a little bit on time. This is week 12 actually, because you know that well, we're going to take 1 week more because of the assembly thing. So you have about 4 weeks, probably less, to solve this. Try to do your best, try to solve the situation, talk to teacher Daisy, and talk to anybody who is in charge of that, because it's really, really important. Yes, I cannot make enough emphasis on this. If you are not registered, your process is completely invalid in terms of dates and grades, right? Let's say that I cannot register any grade in the end, and it will be really problematic for you. Okay, it's possible that you require to repeat the subject one more time next semester, and this will imply loss of money, loss of time, loss of a lot of different things, possible crosses in the schedules, etc. Okay, so please do that. Also remember then that we also talk about certain things related to dates, deadlines. We're missing this activity related to watching the videos prepared by the students of the semester, and that will be the result of that will be a report. We have something related to our second book, that is the interview, and as well we have the final test, right? So I think those are like the most important, apart from the assignments that we have week by week. Okay, but thanks a lot for that, guys. I would like to start the class of today by sharing with you a sort of poem. We can call it that way. This is by Tool, that is a rock band, if you want to call it that way, from a particular album that's called Fear Inoculum. And the song, in this case, that can be taken as a poem, is called Numa, right? Maybe you cannot get exactly what is it from the pronunciation. I'll spell it for you. It is P-N-E-U-M-A, Numa, like nomadic, right? Something related to air, and this is actually an antique Greek concept, right? And it refers to the soul. That is why we have all these nomadic things these days. The word was appropriated by this concept because it represents the circulation of air sometimes, like modernly, But of course, if we're dealing with the soul, well, it's an intangible thing. It's a concept that is not really something that you can touch. So that's how philosophers at the time were able to express it. Okay, well, I'll read it for you. So as I mentioned, it is called pneuma. We are spirit bound to this flesh. We go round 1 foot nailed down, but bound to reach out and beyond this flesh, become pneuma. We are will and wonder, bound to recall, remember. We are born of 1 breath, 1 word. We are all 1 spark, some becoming. Child, wake up. Child, release the light. Wake up now, child. Spirit, spirit bound to this flesh, this guise, this mask, this dream. Wake up, remember. We are born of 1 breath, 1 word. We are all 1 spark, some becoming. Pneuma, reach out and beyond. Wake up, remember. We are born of 1 breath, 1 word. We are all 1 spark, eyes full of wonder. I really like this. Well, the song is wonderful if you like this sort of music. Yes, probably some of you don't. But the message or the lyrics are really good. And let's say, personally, they remind me how we might be, and that really depends on your beliefs and stuff, but we may be more than flesh, might be more than this crude matter, right? We are essence and energy and ideas and different things. And this doesn't necessarily need to be like religious or new age or anything like that, because anything that's mentioned about energies may sound a little bit like that, no? But it's a little bit more, or that's how I take it, no? How we can transcend. Yes, we can be beyond the physicality of our being. And for many of you, that may be a religious concept, such as the soul itself. And if you believe in that, how you go to an afterlife or any other somehow place, metaphysical, if you want to call it that way, when we die. But personally, for me, it has to do more with ideas, with what you have done with your life, and how you will be able to continue living after you leave this plane of existence, in the minds of other people, in things that you have done, things that you have written, in your works and different things, right? This is like a small tribute to a friend whose mother passed away these days, and you can imagine how hard is that, and hopefully you don't have to suffer that too soon. Well, eventually we all, I guess, will have to pass through that, and it's a difficult thing, but well, hopefully that can be some sort of consolation to us, knowing that things do not end right away now on. That there are a lot of intangible things that can continue living on. Okay, well, thank you very much. Thank you for listening, by the way. And well, we're going to work today a little bit on argumentation. We also have, we have already, discussed certain things about it. We have compared it to demonstrations. We have worked in different levels over here, right? So we're going to go a little bit deeper today into different things. I will appreciate if you can go to the slide 102, and I am going to pass the next slides really quick, because this is something that we already covered in composition. Okay, so you should know already this, something that it's basic. So hopefully you remember some of it if you took the class with me. If you didn't, well, you are supposed to already know this. So I'm going to go really quick, okay? Now, so we have some characteristics of argumentation. The first one, that is the object, that is basically what we are argumenting, what we are trying to persuade people about. and it has some characteristics, no? So remember that it has to be controversial somehow, doubtful, or problematic. If it's something too easy to demonstrate, it's something that has been already established, well, we cannot really argument about it or persuade anybody about it because it's already settled, right? Or it's either like so completely impossible that it's not worth it to discuss about it, right? We have a second component that is the locutor, that it's either the individual or the collective group of people that are involved in the discussion, the person who presents a position and that expects to have some contradictors sometimes. We have a third component that is the character or tone, and well, we already talked about the key in the speaking. Remember this component of a text that is going to allow us to see what is the tone, right? So argumentation, of course, being a text, has also a tone. And here we have some different ones, right? So it says that it has like opposition, contrast, deauthorization, provocation, among others. Now, so we can have an argumentation that is somehow academic, one that is informal, one that is formal, one that is respectful, one that is aggressive. Yes, and here we have some important ones. Now, it has, for example, deauthorization. That's a type of argumentation in which basically you say to your opponent, well, you don't have the authority to talk about this. You don't have maybe the academic training, maybe you don't have the moral background in order to discuss about it. I don't know, let's say that you're discussing about somehow having a really good married life and you are divorced, for example, right? So it could be an argumentation of the contradictor to say that you don't have any authority to talk about that, right? And well, there are a ton of examples more. And the objective that it will be, of course, we have already discussed that until being repetitive maybe, and it's to convince somebody or to persuade somebody. Remember the differences between convince and persuade that we discussed about it. Let's say that most of the cases, and especially in the current circumstances, what you're going to be able to do with argumentation is to make your opponent somehow, your interlocutor somehow, your contradictor somehow, accept a given idea. Maybe you're not going to completely change his or her or their minds, but well, these days it's really difficult to do that, right? Like, because everybody, as I mentioned before, would prefer just to be right, and that it's how they feel they win, right? Like, they win the discussion and that's what satisfies them. So sometimes it's difficult to reach this. So normally the most that you can aspire to is to say, I mean, the contradictor, the person who responds, is to say, okay, I acknowledge that your arguments are acceptable, are good, and okay, something like that. Well, sometimes you are actually able to convince people, to persuade them, but that's a different thing. Well, if we go into the slides 104 and 105, we are going to see the structures of argumentation that we covered back then, and maybe the simple in the 104, that, as you will see, it's really simple, but basic, elementary, in which we have three components, right? The premise, the law of passage, and the conclusion. So the premise is your idea, right? So the premise should be an affirmative statement, such as abortion should be legal, right? Then we have the law of passage, that are basically a fancy name for the arguments that you have. Yes, so you're going to, you can write some dashes and write the keywords or simple sentences that basically are going to support your premise. Yes, such as women's choice over their body, maybe avoiding kids suffering, maybe avoiding clandestine surgeries or surgical procedures that may result in deaths, diminishing pressure on the decision of women, maybe indirectly affecting the poverty indexes for good, etc. Right? So you can put all your arguments in there. And finally, the conclusion must be exactly the same than the premise. Yes? So the relation is really simple. Abortion should be legal. These are my reasons, so I conclude that abortion should be legal. Exactly the same thing. Okay? Something really simple. If we go to the next one, that is the slide 105, we are going to see the structure of argumentation with reserve. Okay? As you can see, this is exactly the same that the previous one. It only has one additional component. Okay? So, premise, same thing. Abortion should be legal. Law of passage, the arguments that I have already mentioned some minutes ago. So, you're going to list over there the thing. And then we have the reserve. Now, what is the reserve? The reserve is basically an anticipation that you do to some counter argument that your opponent or that your interlocutor or that your contradictor may have. Yes? So, basically, this is anticipating to this. Why doing that? Well, because that is going to help you to prepare an argument that is valid, that is good, and that somehow may disarm or at least minimize the impact of the counter-argument of your contradictor, right? So basically you're going to think something that people usually said about it in order to contradict the arguments that you just mentioned, yes? Sure, you can just wait and see what they say, but having a complete answer that is ready before even the other person asks you actually is going to help you strengthening your ideas, yes? Because normally when somebody asks something that we are not, or suggests or says something that we're not prepared for, well, we have to wait for a while, think in a minute, and sometimes our body language is not the most appropriate. Yes, sometimes it may look like you're doubtful, insecure, or something like that, and that is going to give some sort of terrain to your contradictor. Whereas, if you are prepared for it, actually the surprised person may be the other one. Like, oh, he has like an answer for that. Now what do I say? I have to say something else, right? So the first thing is to think about what is the possible, let's say, counter-argument that they give you. Yes? So let's think about a typical one. Women who have abortions get depressed, and they sometimes repent of what they do, and they feel guilty or things like that. Yes? So why are you trying to tell me that this is to improve their health if their mental health is going to be, like poorer after the action, after the abortion? So that is a reserve. That is something that you can expect that a contradictor tells to you. So the first thing is to identify the reserve. In this case, we're identifying only one, right? For a future debate or something that you can do in your own, let's say, experience. Well, you can think about many different reserves, right? So the more you can think in advance, the better is going to be your argument, right? The less you will be surprised, and surprises in debates or argumentations are not necessarily good, yes? Unless you can surprise your opponent. So the first one, as I mentioned, is identify it, and then you are going to try to prepare an answer for that, yes? People said women get depressed after abortion, right? So you can give a series of different answers, such as, for example, exhibiting statistics in which most of the people or most of the women feel somehow relieved or alleviated after the abortion. They stop being worried, they stop doing different things. Sure, there are certain cases of depression, but those are not the most common or the most abundant. Now, another thing could be, okay, the depression may be momentary or somehow stay for a couple of weeks, months, or a certain period of time, but having an unwanted baby may be a permanent source of depression, right? Because it's something that really he or she was not expecting, right? Or maybe the partner, the father, well, different things. So that's it. Yes, you prepare an answer to that. Sometimes the answer can be completely effective, and let's say leave the other person without argument. Now, sometimes the reserve, it's partially right? So you have to also prepare for that. Yes, when you say that sometimes the reserves are somehow good, it's like a weak spot, so you have to prepare extra for that, and be aware that you are not going to, let's say, completely win, if we want to call it that way, the discussion over here because of that. So basically that's it. And finally, the conclusion I mentioned before should be the same that the premise. Abortion should be legal. Abortion should be legal will be the premise. Law of passage for these and these arguments. Reserve, although there is this problem, I have this alternative, and because all of this discussion, the conclusion is that abortion should be illegal. Okay, this is the example I'm giving you over here. Very well, guys, so let's concentrate on this one that is a new one. Okay, so I am going to start like the one in the 106. Okay, I'm going to start this one in the next video. Okay, I just wanted to give like a general reminder of this, but we're going to start with this one in the next video. Okay, so it's important that you take it into account. We're going to use it somehow a lot, and we're going to use it for one part of the assignment of this week. Okay, so be attentive to it. See you on the next video. Bye bye.